Least a little bit of an update with the channel. The first things first is the logo and the branding for just for me. I'm still working with a friend of mine who does some artistic work and working on getting the banner completed as well as a logo to upload to social media to put on the channel and make sure that you know who I am represented through the art that's provided. So the second thing is I would like to use two examples in kind of explaining the future for the channel. So take a walk with me while I kind of talk a little bit about it. Two people I would like to use as kind of a source of inspiration. The first is going to be Ninja, and then the second is going to be KoreanSavage. Both, depending on how you interpret the things I say, might be positive, might be negative, but the biggest thing is just to start the conversation. So recently, Ninja was singing along on his stream and accidentally slipped with a word that might be harmful or hurtful to certain individuals. So I'm not saying that Ninja is a bad person because all people make mistakes, and he took the time to apologize, realizing that what he said could be harmful to people. So that's important to acknowledge, and I do appreciate that. And that's not really what I want to focus on, but rather the conversation I had in a Twitter thread with someone who either follows him, but also some of the other comments within it. When talking about race, there are certain privileges that some people have, and for others, there might be oppressive experiences or things of that nature, but there's always a discrepancy in what people believe, and there's always opinions on both sides. But when I was conversing with someone, I'm trying to talk about people of color or the hurt that words use, I think that was the thing that got me inspired to make this video of that the conversation of privilege, oppression, race, religion, sexual orientation, things like that aren't in the gaming world. Whether people listen to it at school or ignore it, it isn't really talked about in streams, and a lot of people, a lot of streamers usually avoid it in streams because it brings with them a lot of drama, or people who debate issues, and there's not a lot of common ground to talk on. So having that conversation based on the situation from Ninja's stream a couple days ago, I think it's important to start having those conversations in stream. And for the more positive, for people who might be interpreting this wrong, the Ninja that takes the time to tell kids to stay in school and go to class and do their homework, as well as the one who cares about suicide and mental health. That's what I want to bring to the streams that I do. I did not run into Ninja until after I started the channel, so it's good to see that people are going beyond just gaming and showing their skills to the world, but that they're also caring about human compassion, well-being, and things like that. So I'd say, based on the overall situation, I think it's important to kind of acknowledge that situations do have a positive side to it. So even though something negative might have happened, that I was able to have those conversations and kind of be inspired to move forward in doing what I planned on doing, and that is bringing social justice and mental health to the gaming community in streams. And again, it will not be in all the streams because that can get a little bit exhausting, but it is important to be able to have open-mindedness in chat and being able to not necessarily control the situation, but letting people talk and finding a coexistence between people. And again, I think with using this platform and so many people watching, being a good role model and using this time to talk about issues that a lot of people are either too afraid to talk about, don't have the education to talk about, or just are uncertain of what to say. So I think this is something important to acknowledge. The second person that I want to talk about is KoreanSavage. In everything that I say, between whether it's Ninja or KoreanSavage, I am not trying, and my intention is not to disrespect them or insinuate anything about them, just to bring about things I've seen in streams or in chats that I think elicit some conversation and development for people watching. So with KoreanSavage, I've gone to a lot of his streams, and just like Ninja, he is probably one of the top streamers. Not as, just as much personality as it is skill. So, but going to his streams, there's times that I run into maybe not derogatory terms, but things that he compares to the LGBT community if he loses, or how horrible he is, that he might be an LGBT person if he loses this game or kills before V2 Rocket, and that's not bad. It brings laughter to the streams, and it's a way to invoke laughter. But for people in streams who might be in the LGBT community, they're looking to him as a role model. And again, this is not to say that KoreanSavage is discriminating against anyone, that he's a horrible person, that he hates LGBT people, or anything of that nature, because I don't believe that at all. I still go to his streams. I try and engage in the community. It's just little things I notice here and there, and I think with again with Ninja and the race incident, and then KoreanSavage with the LGBT once in a while, I think it's important to talk about, but so many people in the streams come from different backgrounds, different identities, and they're coming to streamers to enjoy their time and listen and look up to them, not just for gaming skills, but as a person who's taken the time to commit themselves to doing something good for the community, and putting their love into something. So I think with streamers, and a lot of them, in addition, I think use things like retard or things that are gay, that aren't really positive for people who are watching their streams and might be dealing with identities that they're not even sure that they have yet. So I think it's important to be cautious of what we say and what words we're including in streams, and how we're caring for the audience who come to watch us. And I think with these different issues that we take the time to think before we say something in our streams, and who are we not including, or who are we accidentally disrespecting by saying something that might not be meaning something that we're intending to say. However, I do want to acknowledge on the positive side, again, depending on how you're interpreting, some of the work that KoreanSavage has done. In one of his previous streams, I think it was a while back, he included Goku, I think it's Goku Flex, who is also a YouTuber who does fitness streams, and kind of starting to work on that cross-platform or connecting of people. And what Korean did was he talked to Goku and kind of talked about fitness and gaming, and kind of how to mix those two, because as we all know, you're sitting online, you're sitting on a couch, sitting on a chair, sitting wherever you're sitting, but there's not a lot of activity that goes with gaming except with your hands. So with that being said, Korean took the time to kind of do a podcast or interview to talk about what kind of strategies are there, how to eat well, and kind of trying to just learn more about another community to make sure that people's health is important to them. So connecting all that together, some of the top streamers sometimes make mistakes, and there's certain language used that is not foul intentioned, and it might not be thinking before we act, but it is stuff that I think with the platform that we have and the amount of people who watch KoreanSavage and Ninja, that there's room to grow, and that there's definitely ways to think before what we're saying, because a lot of us, whether there's a camera or not, for me, I don't have a camera, which there's a purpose behind, but when streaming to certain people and not knowing who they are, there's certain things that we need to make sure we acknowledge and make sure that that we're saying or not saying, to make sure that when people come to streams that they don't feel lost because someone said something about their identity, or making a joke out of it. So on both sides, again, people make mistakes, and people might not know the intention that they have with what they're saying, but the two people I've included in kind of talking about, there is room to grow, have also done significant work in bringing awareness to suicide, or bringing awareness to fitness and the well-being that people have. I would acknowledge PewDiePie, but I think with the amount of influence he has and the amount of subscribers, that being a bully isn't a positive influence who just want to have a joke or mockery of other people. So again, this is not to disrespect Korean or Ninja in any way, but just some of the observations I've seen, and just work to be done. And the reason that I do the work I do, it's in the field that I work in, and moving forward is stuff that I want to include in my streams. So whether it's a topic to debate on stream, and it changes every week, or it's just a one night a week we sit and chat and talk about different issues or identities or things like that. That some of these instances are the ones that kind of provided the inspiration, but on the other hand, also moving forward is wanting to include different people in podcast type videos. So when streaming, calling upon people who work in mental health fields, who work in fitness, who work in college, for people who are in college and don't know the process of applications or financial aid, but including the people that the population and audience who comes to the streams needs to grow as people, to grow as students, to grow as kids, to grow as to whatever you want to become. And I think with the instances, again, with Ninja and Korean, that they provided some inspiration, some prior examples that I can build upon in doing the work I do. Because activism isn't just about talking; it's about acting. So I think moving forward, I wanted to kind of acknowledge some issues that the gaming community has, and it's not just these two; it's just the ones that I follow the most closely and have just kind of observed recently. And again, neither of them is bad, and the language used, it either depended on the Twitter conversation I had that came from a mistake, or someone who just enjoys making the streams fun and might not know what he's saying. But again, they're not bad people. I still go to their streams. They've done well to care about their audience and care about the people who come in and want to talk to them, and I think that's probably more important than anything. But with me kind of moving forward and kind of figuring out what I want to do, I think using the light and dark side of individuals who I look up to, I think is important, because so many other people look up to them just as much and listen to them and truly care about who they are, and will always return back to their streams. So that's a little bit I wanted to share about kind of my purpose as OP activists, and what I plan to do moving forward in the future. If you like this video, thumbs up. If you're someone who is a big fan of Korean and Ninja, I understand if you dislike it. Again, if you want to ask questions, find me on Twitter, or leave a comment down below, and I'll take the time to respond, because it's something that I care about, and I think it's something that isn't in the gaming world. So again, I'm OP activist. Day or night, keep your fists held high. OP out.